Welcome to the party. I'm Sam Ekstrom of Locked On Sports Minnesota. Another pundit suggests the Vikings should pick up Trey Lance in a trade.
I'm Luke Braun of Locked On Vikings, evidently less bored than Bill Barnwell.
Luke Inman on Twitter at Luke_Spinman, and we are now just 1 week. That's right, 7 days until the 2023 NFL draft. Sam can't wait.
Inman will host draft trivia, and we put money on the line at FanDuel. All that and more on today's Minnesota football party.
Locked On Sports Minnesota podcast. It's endless Minnesota Vikings talk with the diverse voices of your local experts. It's time for the Minnesota football party. It's your guys hanging out talking next level Vikings football. So join in with Pro Football Network's Arif Hassan, Locked On Vikings Luke Braun, Superior Sports Talk's Luke Inman, and Vikings insider Sam Ekstrom, plus the biggest names in Minnesota football for the Minnesota football party. And it starts now.
I love in the open where it looks like Inman is laughing uproariously at whatever Ron Johnson just said. That's great. Welcome to the Minnesota football party. I'm Sam Ekstrom. The two Lukes in with us. Arif Hassan expected to join. Ron Johnson expected to join. Full crew on today's Minnesota football party. Bill Barnwell suggests Trey Lance to the Vikings. We're going to put mythical money on the line at FanDuel. And, of course, party fouls to end the show, as Arif Hassan stumbles in from his slumber. No, I'm sure he was working hard, probably writing about, the Washington football team dealing with a potential owner who's using Saudi money, something like that. There he is, the man, Arif Hassan. What's up?
Look at that. Hey, I was writing about something that I had said on the podcast earlier. It was about the S2 cognition test that's going to come soon. But at the moment you reminded me that the time had changed, I was actually making a quesadilla breakfast. So
delicious.
Very nice. Yeah.
Oh,
so work from home.
Hey.
That is so yummy. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, the official sportsbook of Locked On, official sports betting partner of the NBA. Make every moment more at FanDuel, FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. All right, before we get into our FanDuel draft props, which I'm really excited for, there are so many ways to bet at FanDuel. We have to address the Bill Barnwell mock draft, where he suggests that the Vikings should wheel and deal for Trey Lance. Here's the deal, and it involves Philadelphia as a third team, but these are the nuts and bolts. The Vikings trade their first-round pick, a future fourth, and Nick Mullins, and they receive a second-round pick via Philly, an extra third, a sixth, and quarterback Trey Lance from the San Francisco 49ers. Luke Braun, did the Vikings say no? The Vikings say yes.
I think the value of that without Trey Lance is actually pretty close. I don't think that trade values Trey Lance very highly. So sure, I view Trey Lance as a reclamation project right now. He's been in that organization for 2 years. If they're willing to dump him for pennies on the dollar.
Sorry. It was a first, a fourth, and Nick Mullins for a second, another third, and Trey Lance?
And a sixth.
And a sixth. Yeah. That's not close before you get to Trey Lance, Luke.
It's not?
No, the first is dramatically more important than the second. That's a huge difference.
I guess
let's see here. Let me pull up just real quick the trade value chart. Pick 23 is worth 760 points. I'm just pulling up a random one here. Is this Jimmy Johnson? I guess I don't know. 760 points. The second rounder they would get, obviously the Niners don't have a second, so it must be Philly's second. That's a late second. That's the 62nd pick. That's only worth 284 points.
It's a 500-point difference.
So 500-point difference. And then the third rounder you get back from San Fran, which they got 3, but they're all late, is about 100 points. So you're still about 400 points off. 400 points is the equivalent of a middle
Probably the
second.
top of the second.
Mid-second. So is Trey Lance worth
a quarterback, a middle second? That treats him as a reclamation project. That's we don't think this guy is like that certain to be good. Maybe he's good. You can pay a second rounder to see if he's good.
What did Jimmy G go for?
I don't know. It was like fairish.
Jimmy G went for a first.
Jimmy G did go for a first. That's right.
This feels up Kwesi's wheelhouse. Getting a guy in the third year of a rookie deal who's underachieved or / been hurt. It feels right up Kwesi's alley to me.
There's a couple of differences between Jimmy G and Trey Lance, right? Trey Lance is like, if I'm going to drop the bit for a second, Trey Lance is like a true unknown, right? Like his underperformance at the beginning of the year needs to be mediated by the fact that those games are weird, right? Like the monsoon games, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Jimmy Garoppolo's short performance in the NFL was at a really high level. Also, Jimmy not being able to start over Tom Brady is not a huge deal. Trey losing a competition to Brock Purdy as well as he played before you get into camp is a little bit more concerning. So both
whoa.
Trey Lance
he lost a competition to Brock Purdy.
Yeah, this upcoming.
If they're trading him away functionally.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
They both the GM and the head. Sorry, Sam. I see what you were getting. Yeah. Both the GM and the head coach said either at the combine or a little bit later that Brock Purdy is the presumed starter heading into training camp. Right. And that, I think, is a lot more alarming than Jimmy learning that Tom Brady is the presumed starter heading into training camp, right? So both of those drop Trey Lance's value relative to Jimmy. So I can see why Jimmy would be traded for one. Plus, there was more years of team control with Jimmy in the contract. Personally, I think that if the league generally had valued Trey Lance as a first-round quarterback, right? If that, and that seems to be the consensus, right? Maybe, the 49ers were willing to pay a little bit more, but it was unlikely Lance was going to slip past 5 or 8, right? So he's a first-round pick. The priors that we have on him are difficult to kind of modify in terms of value. The most information that we have is that Brock Purdy is better. That's the most information that we have. And that's a probably, right? So, I mean, because like Penn State was wrong about Will Levis, right? Versus Sean Clifford. So like you can be wrong about your own quarterback, but a second round pick for that guy, think about like other second round picks. Obviously the high end is Jalen Hurts, but you've got like your Andy Daltons and your Colin Kaepernicks. Those are both the high end of second round picks. Jimmy Garoppolo's, right? Would you think that Trey Lance is in that range given what we know about him? As much as it pains me to say, probably.
How many years does Lance still have on his deal? How many years are you getting him if you trade for him?
2, and then a 5th year possibility.
And an option.
2, yeah.
Okay. So that's enough time because you just assume, obviously, unless Kirk goes down next year, that you're not going to see much outside of behind the scenes at practice and training camp, things like that. You're just not going to get much eval on this guy anyway. So that would have been concerning if it was like only 1 year left, but 2 years plus the 5th year option still feels like plenty of breathing room to try to get just a better eval of this guy who's completed like 55 passes with the Niners so far in 2 years.
Yeah, and I would add, he's not completed many passes, period.
At all. Yeah.
Yeah. I just wrote a piece on Anthony Richardson, and I was like, man, it's crazy that if you combine his high school, he was injured in high school. If you combine his high school and college career, he's only thrown 939 passes. Bryce Young has thrown more than that in a season and a half, right? It's crazy. And then it's like, wait, Trey Lance threw 671 passes, high school and college combined. Like it was a running offense in college and he didn't start in high school and he didn't start right away. And then it was a running offense in college and then it was a COVID year. Not his fault, obviously, although as much as I would like to blame NDSU for COVID, that would make it pretty difficult for us to have. So we've got nothing on this guy.
And that mystery is what that intrigues me.
If the Vikings can't trade up for a quarterback, it's an option.
Yeah, I kind of like it. I like having the second, the extra third. You still get 3 picks in the top 100. You don't lose Cousins in this deal. So you still get the evaluation year with Lance kind of on the side in practice. You have Cousins for the year, so you're not sacrificing your competitiveness whatsoever. And if it's not working out, if Lance is damaged goods or he doesn't look good at all, you are really no worse for the wear. Yes, you've sunk a first-round pick into this, but I think that could easily happen as well with another quarterback you draft. So I'm not opposed.
And I think, too, when you look at this specific draft class and the Vikings' needs, which we've talked about for the last 3 months, obviously I don't love missing out on this pick 23 or first-round pick, but there's so many cornerbacks in that second and third tier, so many receivers in that second and third tier with 3 picks in the top 87 now, Sam. I feel like you can still, hit a lot of those needs. Plus, you get your quarterback as well. We talk about, all right, maybe Hendon Hooker with 23 or whatever. Then I only got 1 pick till 87. I get 1 second or third tier. Is it a cornerback or is it wide receiver? That's it. So I feel a little bit shorthanded.
Yeah, I mean, I think that follows. But in order for that, I think, to be complete, it's worth gaming out a little bit. Who are you taking at the bottom of the second? And with your 2 third-round picks, like who are the and so Luke, I mean, I guess either Luke, I've obviously done a lot of consensus board work, but a lot of the mock drafting work has only been in the kind of the first round. Who do you at the bottom of the second round strikes you as an ideal cornerback or receiver prospect? Who do you in the middle of the third round would you take if you took a cornerback first or a wide receiver first?
Maybe DJ Turner, Julius Brents, Tyreek Stevenson, Darius Rush, guys like that. Now, those are all
one of those guys
feels
like an outside guy. Only one, like Julius Brents, feels like an outside guy. The rest feel like nickels, right?
Correct. Yeah. Yep.
That's tough.
Yep.
But yeah. Guy, if they did that and then got Julius Brents, that would be phenomenal.
That would be great. Is Julius Brents going to last? That's why it bumps me out that second rounder is all the way at the bottom. Yeah. Receivers, just looking at this, Rashee Rice, Marvin Mims, Tank Dell seems to be a hot name. He probably wouldn't even be there at that point.
It would
Jonathan
be tough to
Mingo.
See Mims I don't know if Mims or Dell go to the middle of the third. That's No, you're right. And that's where you're rolling the dice, right? Like that's where you're gambling. I think just in general though, tight ends, running backs, cornerbacks, and then outside this first tier of receivers, the second and third tier. Yeah, you're throwing darts up for sure. You want as many lottery tickets as you can get. You still got to hit on the guy. It's not just, we got more picks. That's a guaranteed, starter 2-3 years down the road. That's not how it works, obviously. But I think you want to try to find the value in every draft, and I feel like there is some strengths at cornerback and wide receiver in that second and third tier. But you never know. You're right. It's a phenomenal cornerback draft. And then, Sam, sorry, just one last question that's completely off topic. Should the Vikings at some point in the middle or late rounds take a tight end in one of the greatest tight end classes that we've seen? What do you think?
I don't care to. So you're saying in the middle rounds?
Yeah, not early. Middle or late rounds, but there are so many stunningly good tight ends.
Because I feel like I'm getting a guy in the 4th or 5th round that probably would have went in the 2nd or 3rd round.
Right, like
any other year.
Josh Kuntz, right, from Old Dominion. It feels like he could be a 4th round guy, and I think that Zach Kuntz. It feels like he could go in the 2nd in other drafts. Like, is he better than that Ashland guy that the Chicago Bears drafted? I think so.
Yeah. Tucker Kraft, South Dakota State. I don't know how far he's going to fall. We had Sam Monson on from PFF last week. I said, who's your tight end sleeper in this loaded class? Who's a guy day 3 that you just don't hear a ton of people talking about that you like? Will Mallory from Miami. I don't think he's going to go till late day 3, probably, just because everybody's going to get pushed down. So I would, even though you got Hawkinson and you just signed Oliver, it's still all about value. You never know. Guys can get hurt. You never know what the future holds in just a year or 2 down the road. You just want to draft the best players available and build your roster up that way.
Hey, is the Giant Gophers tight end in the draft this year? Spanford, is he coming back for?
I thought Spanford went back.
Yeah, he went back. I'm almost 99% sure he went back.
Yeah, that's a guy that's going to have like really low production in college, but might end up being a great pro. Just based on
like a Darnell Washington, like a 6'7" behemoth that didn't have the production.
Speaking of Gophers, just real quick, Sam Monson did say Terrell Smith, the cornerback from Minnesota, nobody's talking about. It's one of his favorite go get your guys day 3 sleepers that nobody's talking about. He actually has him ranked 9th, the 9th best cornerback. And I think he said Lance Zierlein has him in the top 10 as well. Don't hear much about him. If you just look at last year's tape, he said he's a top 10 cornerback all day. Outside of that, you got some questions, and that's why he won't be one of the top 10 cornerbacks taken. But just last year's tape was outstanding.
This episode brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. It's America's #1 sportsbook, and it's the place to be right now for NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs, Major League Baseball. Hundreds of ways to wager, and if you're a brand new customer, you can claim a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 back in bonus bets. If that first bet doesn't win, Download the safe, secure FanDuel Sportsbook app and check out all the options, including NFL draft props, which we will get into in seconds. Bet on everything imaginable. If it's NBA, you're betting on the first basket scorer, how many three-pointers are made. If it's baseball, put together a home run hitter parlay or a same-game parlay for a chance at a big payout. FanDuel.com/lockedon. Claim that no-sweat first bet. FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more. Who is ready to wager 500 mythical bucks on FanDuel NFL draft props? Whoever's ready can just rattle them off. I'll type them up, and we'll see who comes out on top in our latest gambling contest. I am prepared. Is anybody else prepared? Would they like to go first?
I got a couple locked and loaded. I may have to just do a little bit of digging, but I think I got 5 bets here. I want to spread them out. Usually I just dump them all in on just one monster parlay or two, but I'm going to spread them out. I'm going to do 5 even $100 picks.
And this is the rule, I think. I think 5 bets max, just to keep
5 bets
it moving.
Max. There you go.
5 bets max. Yep.
Okay. Bijan Robinson, top 10, plus 175. All these I like because they're plus. I think they're good value. Bijan Robinson, top 10, going in the top 10 for plus 175. Put me down for $100. I just think between whether it's the Falcons at 8, even the Eagles at 10, somebody maybe even trading up like New England, I think Bijan's going to go in the top 10.
Love it. What else you got? Anything?
Peter Skoronski, first offensive lineman taken at plus 200. I know Paris Johnson Jr. is the favorite, and I get it, but I think it's about a coin flip. So to get him at plus 200, I just really like the value. Wouldn't be shocked or surprised if he's not, if Paris goes first, but plus 200.
Are you good, Luke? Can I go?
Yeah, go ahead. Yep.
Cool.
Luke, you can keep scrambling to find
Sure.
300 more bucks there.
So I've got 4 bets right now. I am not buying all of the CJ Stroud slander I am seeing everywhere all the time, whether it is a low S2 cognition score or ghosting the Manning Passing Academy by telling them that he wasn't going to be there so that he could practice, or what have you, right? So I would say I'm going to bet 150 at plus 230 for him to be the number 2 overall pick. So that's that. I know that there's been a lot of steam that the Texans are willing to draft anybody, but if they're not willing to draft CJ Stroud, maybe they trade down. I feel like that's a possibility too. Will Anderson is my number 3 overall pick at plus 250. I'm wagering $200 on that. So $150 on Stroud at plus 230, $200 at Will Anderson at plus 250. That just feels like if the Cardinals can't trade out, that's who they're going to pick. If they can trade out, that's probably, an okay bet. But it sounds like the Cardinals are having somewhat of a difficult time there. So that's kind of a hedge against that. Then to be a top 5 pick, this is a minus 200 bet, but it feels still like good value. Will Levis at $100. People love this dude. Like digging into this guy, like I know that like draft Twitter is not a huge fan of him, but the way... So I hated the leaks about CJ Stroud. Now I'm buying the leaks about Will Levis, the way that people have leaked out his testing, his scores, his interviews, and stuff like that. So that is at, was it minus 200? So $100 to win 50. And then my last,
it's Levis to do what?
Be a top 5 pick.
Got it.
And then my last one is Michael Mayer, first tight end drafted. This is like a super safe. I'm not making a lot of money on this one. It's my last $50. It's at minus 175. I know people like Dalton Kincaid a lot, and they should. He's very good. But it's a difficult tight end class to want to be the first one to take one because you feel like you're never going to get value. So you might as well get the most well-rounded guy. It's probably going to be a little bit late. I think it's going to be Michael Mayer.
There you go. Arif Hassan's locked in. Luke Braun, what do you got?
I am going to string an insane number of things together in a parlay.
You can only have 5 bets, dude.
You're going to parlay, though.
Yeah, I'm parlaying a whole bunch of
right?
them together. Yeah. So I am trying to predict the top part of this draft in relation to quarterbacks. So I'm going to figure out, all right, I'll put Bryce Young in there, minus 1,200. Doesn't add a lot to the parlay, but you might as well toss it in. I do think CJ Stroud goes number 2. I don't think it's to the Texans. I think that the Texans, like Arif said, I feel like they're going to trade out. Somebody's going to think maybe, is somebody going to trade up to 3? If I want Stroud, I do need to go up to 2. and then you can kind of call the Texans and make that happen, which I think kind of screws the Cardinals. I don't know what team that is.
Which gives me Will Anderson.
Nice. Yeah.
Which, which I'm also going to add plus 250. Will Anderson picked at number 3. And then I want to predict the other 2 quarterbacks where they land. So I can do team to draft Will Levis. I do think the Colts do that. I've kind of always thought that was a good fit for the Colts, that he's kind of what they need. They need somebody who can, run the ship. And yeah, there might be some issues that you have to work through, but he can start in the meantime. He can run a quick game offense. And I think the Colts can be really happy with that. And then team to draft Anthony Richardson at plus 1,600, your Minnesota Vikings. Let's parlay it all together. I think that with all of that happening, 3 quarterbacks in the top 4, I think suddenly you start to see one of these guys fall, right? Because Seattle's not taking a quarterback. Detroit's not taking a quarterback. We know that. And then maybe at pick 10, we can start to talk to the Eagles about trading up if Anthony Richardson is there, right? Try to leapfrog the Titans if we're worried about them. Maybe he gets past the Buccaneers.
If you're the Buccaneers, no way you let this happen.
Are you sure about the Buccaneers?
What is the bet and
what
are the odds?
Sure.
Kyle Trask?
I'm not saying I agree with it, but are we sure?
How funny would it be for Anthony Richardson to back up Kyle Trask, talk about how much Kyle Trask has taught him about the game, learn about how good you can be playing football by learning from Kyle Trask and then starting over him? How amazing would that be?
This would be very funny. Do the Buccaneers have a Dalvin Cook-like asset that they can trade as part of this trade package that the Eagles would definitely be very interested in?
I think they have more than 5 total picks in the draft is the thing.
So is this like a $10 bet or is this like a $500 bet?
No, I'm putting all 500 into it.
Phenomenal.
Let me do the parlay calculator. Yeah, I'm putting everything into this. Yeah.
So I'm really confident the Lions are going to take Devon Witherspoon, and there's some combo 6 and 18 in great value on these. I just don't know who they're going to take at 18. It's such a crapshoot. Kalijah Kancey, Dalton Kincaid, Porter Jr., Miles Murphy, or Mazzie Smith would probably, I guess, be one of the 2 that I would throw a dart up there, but too risky. I'm not confident in any of them. Seattle to draft Jalen Carter. I think he just falls right in their lap. I think Will Anderson's gone, as Arif mentioned, at number 3. Plus 400. I just love the value. Plus 400. Give me $100 on that. And then just for the bit, I know Luke already took Anthony Richardson with the Vikes, but just for the bit, Vikes drafting Hendon Hooker plus 500. I can't believe they're the favorite, by the way. Detroit is
I can't believe the Packers 600? Aren't on there.
He's going to end up in the NFC North one way or the other.
100% committed to Jordan Love. No way.
Luke, you had Carter to Seattle, Hooker to the Vikes, and then did you have one more there that I missed?
Yeah, I think the first linebacker taken is a coin flip between Campbell or Drew Sanders. Campbell got much better value, though, at plus 160. So I'm going to put first linebacker taken, $100 on Jack Campbell at plus 160.
Got it. Braun, do you have the odds?
Sam, my odds, my parlay odds are 45 plus 45,633.
Oh my gosh! I hope you hit it, and it's all mythical dollars.
So we've got no chance.
But I didn't actually bet
it.
I don't know. I don't know if you can wager in California, but you might want to try. So I've got to motor through this. Ron Johnson waiting in the wings at 3. Ron Johnson. We'll get to him after I tell you my winning bets. $200 on Richardson being a top 5 pick. That is a safe minus 125. $100 on Christian Gonzalez first CB at plus 150. Witherspoon is actually the favorite there. Just for a Vikings angle, I've got them taking Johnston with their first pick at plus 900. And then another Minnesota angle, I've got John Michael Schmitz going in the first round at plus 300. That's another $50. JMS, first round pick. And then lastly, I've got $100 to go. I'm going to say that the Eagles take Bijan at plus 1,000. That's my picks. Those are all the picks locked in at FanDuel. Ron Johnson joins the show right now. He's the host of the Ron Johnson Show, Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and the roundtables on Friday. All right, it's Ekstrom, it's Inman, it's Bron, Hassan, and Ron on today's Minnesota Football Party. Ron, we were going through the new trade scenario from Bill Barnwell, who suggests that the Vikings should trade for Trey Lance and give up their first-round pick in a 3-team kind of complex deal. Just at its core, how would that make you feel if the Vikings gave up their first and got Trey Lance?
Ooh. Well, I mean, honestly, I like the fact that I feel like Kirk Cousins isn't the long-term solution at the age of 34 for them. I see nothing. He's 34, right? I'm not getting that wrong.
35, maybe
35. So yeah,
might be 35 when the season starts.
So even for a player of Kirk's caliber, I'm a Kirk Cousins fan, as you know, that Black Panther, Disney World supporter of Kirk Cousins. I feel like that he should even understand that whether they extend him 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, that at the age of 38, he's probably at the end of his career, which has been a great career. He's made a ton of money. And then that gives the future of a guy like Trey Lance, who is mobile, who can make the throws. It's always going to be, can he stay healthy? But again, that was his first year actually getting some time and then getting hurt. Clearly, the 49ers made him the starter. So he earned that. We saw him up here in Minnesota when they did their 2-team practices, and he looked pretty solid. So I wouldn't see any problem with it because, again, these other quarterbacks, C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young, I mean, you look at all these guys, nobody is guaranteed to be the leader of a franchise 5 years from now. I forgot the metric, and maybe we'll talk about it on Friday on the roundtable, but the number of first-round draft pick quarterbacks that actually don't pan out to be what you thought they were is higher than people even understand. So if you can get a proven guy that you already know is pretty good in Trey Lance, I'd do it.
Inman, what do you got?
Yeah, Ron, so much has been made the last 5-10 years or so that running backs don't matter anymore. Do you think the pendulum has swung too far now? Like they're too devalued? And I ask that because one of the best players in the draft is Bijan Robinson from Texas. And a lot of people say they wouldn't touch him in the first 5-10 picks. If you were running a team, the GM, would you take a special talent like that, even though it's a running back, in the first 10 picks?
Oh man, again, like what do we qualify as a special talent? You know, like the Big 12 football wasn't great. Now, is Bijan Robinson a good running back? Yes. Is he going to be the future of a franchise? Who knows? Like you really don't know with these players. Dalvin Cook was found in the second round. Now, granted, early second round, which is technically first round caliber. But you just like it's so many teams that have proven I don't need a running back to win a Super Bowl. When you look at the Chiefs, you look at the Eagles, you look at how these guys were created in the teams, it's based on quarterback play and then absolute weapons outside of you. The 49ers got there and they felt like we need Christian McCaffrey, but Christian McCaffrey is not a running back per se. I mean, he catches the ball more sometimes than he runs the ball in games. And so I think the dynamic running back is still a value weapon. I think the true, like the Derrick Henrys, you get 2 to 3 good seasons out of them, maybe. And then injuries start to set in. You look at Ezekiel Elliott. I think that's what teams are looking at is like, well, if we draft a guy in the first round, are we even like, what does that look like? Are we going to end up having to restructure his deal later on because we have to pay him $50 million, so on and so forth. So again, getting him as a rookie would be good because you can lock him in for 4 to 5 years. But then is he going to play that game if he has a 1,500-yard or 1,600-yard season that, oh, no, I'm not playing for this rookie deal anymore. I want a new deal. And I think that's where teams are. They're like, look, we can go find us a Jet McKinnon or we can go find us, you know, one of those guys out there, Miles Sanders, who's already out there who might take less. And I think that's what GMs are kind of banking on now because it's all about the quarterback play, receiver to tight end play in most of these offenses.
Ron, I want to ask you about a gopher. For the last couple of years, I heard so much about Mo Ibrahim, and now as a draft prospect, all I really hear is, well, he's old and he had some injuries, but I never hear about his game. Tell me about his game.
Right. Well, I will say the most famous gopher is the gopher from Caddyshack. I'll start there first. Secondly, Mo Ibrahim. So Mo Ibrahim, what you're going to get out of him is you get a compact size running back with vision. And so when you look at the Gophers offensive scheme, they run a zone run scheme. They do have some power, but it's mainly a zone run scheme. And when you think about zone, each offensive lineman grouping, so guard to tackle or guard to center, center to guard, guard to tackle, they have combos within their scheme of we're covering a zone. We're not taking a man. So when we go left, you block who comes into your area. So if a guy loops, don't chase. The guy behind you has him. And then same if you're the tackle. If you have this zone this way and your guy loops outside of you, trust Mo is going to cut back inside and he's going to take it front side. And Mo did a great job of that. Like, Mo has vision. He has the ability to see those cutback lanes. He has he can look from the left tackle to tight end almost and be able to go all the way back to the backside tackle. And I've seen him do that a couple of times, talking to the running backs coach Kenny Burns about it as well. And he explained, he's like, man, Mo's vision is uncanny, because we would make comments like, man, I wish Trayson Potts had did this. I wish he had seen this cut there. And if that was Mo, that's a touchdown. And that's true. And it's all about vision. It's not ability, because all those guys are good running backs. When you get a college scholarship and you're a starter in the Big Ten, you have the ability. But then it becomes the mental and the vision. Can you see? Do you understand the concept? And Mo is built to go to the NFL because he's smart enough to understand it. He's a man of faith. And so he's a guy that I think going to any organization, he's going to do the right things. He's going to put his body first. I mean, you saw a kid going through Ramadan and spring ball at the same time where he wasn't able to eat. And he really wanted to go through the process and be closer and take care of his body. And so when you look at that, when you look at how Mo Ibrahim is built, one, he is older. So again, how many years are you going to get out of him? He has had injuries. What does that look like? But at the end of the day, I forgot who said it, but you're going to get a starting caliber running back in the fourth round out of Mo Ibrahim, which is like a Marion Barber. I think Marion Barber had similar, he had an injury that year before and then came back and played. And then that was always the question mark with Marion. Well, we know what happened with his story, goes on to be a great NFL running back. And I think Mo Ibrahim has that same ability.
And it just makes me think about like Shannon Brooks too, if it wasn't for injuries, how he would have done in the NFL. Just a bunch of great Gophers running backs over the past couple of years.
Yeah.
What to you would be kind of like an ideal probable like Vikings draft? Like, obviously if they could draft Bryce Young at 23, but like an ideal actually possible Vikings draft in like the first couple of rounds.
Yeah, honestly, an ideal draft for them. I mean, I hate to say it, and I know people hate it because Rick Spielman did it for years, but trade back. Like, you only have 5 picks.
Yeah.
And so if you can get a second and a third for a first 23, I take it. I take it in a heartbeat, because in the second round, again, you're going to like, if there's not a guy out there that you really want. So Joey Porter Jr. is off the board. Some of these, DBs are off the board. There's still value in the second, third round. So if you can somehow parlay that back, if you don't get a Trey Lance trade, you can get a second round pick and get, Hendon Hooker. Now, again, we don't know what that's going to be, what he's going to be, but he would have time to sit behind Kirk Cousins for 2 years. And again, Pat Mahomes didn't sit long, but we saw the value in Pat Mahomes being able to sit. We saw the value in an Aaron Rodgers being able to sit. I've heard RG3 bring this up. If you had guys like himself, that were able to sit maybe for a year and not just jump out there and play, maybe the decision-making changes. Maybe the pass and not the run happens. Maybe they don't get frantic in the pocket. You look at Josh Allen now. He just came out today saying that staff told him, stop running so much and taking unnecessary hits. So when you think about that with Josh Allen, it's even that. Like, what would he have learned from sitting for a year? Now, he's still great, but he said he took unnecessary hits. He did things that he shouldn't have had to do or shouldn't have done at times. I think that just comes with learning and growing. And when you can get a veteran guy like Kirk Cousins to have one of these guys, I say that's an ideal draft. You get a quarterback in the second round that you think could be your future starter. And then in the third round, you add a crucial piece to your defense, whether it's DB or linebacker. And then you go on from there. And again, now trading back to get later 7th, 6th round picks, I wouldn't do that. I would probably go look at some free agents like they're doing, like the kid Williams from the Patriots. I think pieces like that are going to be more of value than trying to get 7th and 8th round, or there's not even 8th round anymore, 6th and 7th round picks. It's funny because the guy I'm interviewing coming up in May played for Oregon. Play for the Chiefs. He was drafted in the 8th round, and that's why I was like, "Why is that on my head?" I was like, "Oh yeah." I don't know if you guys remember J.J. Burden. He was a receiver out of Oregon, and he commented on my Joey Harrington podcast, and so that's why he and I ended up connecting. And he's a world-renowned speaker. But yeah, he was drafted in the 8th round. So I was like, "Whoa, like you're old." But it wasn't that. it wasn't that long ago though, which is crazy. I looked it up. I mean, he was drafted like in '88. So I'm like, man, it wasn't like that was only about 10 years before I was ready to go to college. But right before that, they were drafting guys in the 8th, 9th, 10th round. I think Greg Coleman said he was like a 12th round pick. I'm like, I couldn't imagine like 7th round right now is long enough watching that draft. I could not imagine 12 rounds, like waiting for 12 rounds. Like, man, come on. Just call me later. Just text me when you draft me. I'm not staying up for this.
Yeah.
Yeah. The everydayers know who listen to your show, Ron. You've had a killer guest lineup. Roy Hall Jr. this week, Blake Barrett's this week, Adam Thielen's agent really cut open a vein.
Caitlin Thielen, by the way, she liked the Blake Barrett's comments. So clearly he was telling the
agreed.
truth.
Well, give us the summary there, Ron, for those.
What's the context there?
That interview. Yeah, Barrett's really was honest about the negotiations. Give us the quick summary on that interview.
So I mean, basically two pieces to it. One, he talked about CJ Ham's usage going down, and then the point of a re-signing, it wouldn't seem ideal, but it did. But then he kind of said but it did. It works for CJ where he wants to be long term. Blah blah. Which leads me to believe it's not just he didn't resign to sit for 10% of the play, play for 10%. So my guess is his usage is going to go up by the addition of Josh Oliver. Like Josh Oliver is not a passing tight end. So it leads me to believe they're going to look more like the Ravens 49ers. Like it's going to be a combo run pass type of team. And then the Adam Thielen was, we don't want to be paid $12 million, which you could pay me $1 million to be a decoy, but he was like, we don't want to be paid $10 to $13 million just to be a decoy for the Minnesota Vikings. And so like it was like I see it like it makes sense. Like you don't want to just be the guy that you run the out route so Justin Jefferson can run the post. You run the go so Justin Jefferson can run the out or the over. I want you to run the deep over because Justin Jefferson's coming underneath. And I think that's what the plays became. It became Thielen, I need you to clear this out because Justin Jefferson's going to be wide open coming on the backside. And Thielen's probably like, why isn't Justin clearing out for me? Everybody's watching him, which is true too. So that was very telling. And then, again, Caitlin Thielen liked it. So I'm like, okay, we're on the right side, which means Adam Thielen saw it and that means we're good. So all is well. Everybody's happy with the interview. So I'm fine with it. If Thielen's wife likes it, that means Thielen saw it and he approved it too. So yeah, I think that's the case though. Going to the Carolina Panthers for him, one. And Blake's the other thing too, though, he said, and we'll go back and watch the interview, people, if you haven't seen it, but he said that they knew when they restructured the year before that this was coming. They was like, it could have came that year, but they found a mutual number that worked. So he said they prepared him for this moment anyway. Like he was already thinking like, okay, this might happen. Cause if you want me to restructure now, you're going to want to, every year you're going to ask me because of the salary cap. So he was prepared for this. And so the Carolina Panthers just fits, he's going to go in and be a veteran receiver in the locker room with Frank Wright. I had Frank Wright I was on the staff with Frank Wright that year with the 2 years with the Colts, and I know he's going to have a Colts type offense. And Roy Hall brought it up. Like, there was a certain type of receiver that the Colts saw from an organizational standpoint. They didn't want 6'5", 6'6" receivers that were 240 pounds. They wanted the Reggie Waynes, the Marvin Harrisons, the Anthony Gonzalez's, the Brandon Stokeleys. They wanted smaller guys like an Adam Thielen that can move well, that can play in the slot and outside. Like they have a specific type. And I'm pretty sure Frank Wright took that into his mindset. Like, how do I find guys like that can run the routes and the plays that I want? And so that's it. But yeah, no, it's going to be an exciting week, draft week, though. So stick around, people, because we got Santana Moss from the Washington Commanders. We're going to talk about that $7 billion team and what he thinks of the organization. And did he ever have to pay for his coffee? and then we got Terrell Smith, Gophers DB, who's going to be drafted. So he's going to talk about his draft experience up to that point. And then we got Jordan Reed from ESPN, draft analyst expert, who just came out with their own. So if you haven't done it yet, go to ESPN. They have their own draft simulator now. They're trying to power and party with PFF. And so they put their own simulator out there.
Direct
and my
competitor, Rafe Hassan shaking his head.
Everyone's trying to get on the game now.
Everybody wants to have a simulator out there, but we got Jordan Reed joining us, and he's going to talk about that. We got some other people, but the week only has 3 days for our show. So we got Merrill Hodge, who said he would do it.
Wow.
We got Jordan Howden. So we got Mo Ibrahim. So we got a lot of guys.
Merrill Hodge nailing all those draft picks. You see that sharp?
Yeah, you got to. Johnny Manziel.
Yep. Yeah. So Merrill, I text Merrill, and he reached back out because because my dad was the scout when he scouted Merrill Hodge when the Steelers drafted him back in 88, 87, 88.
Wow.
So yeah, my dad had just retired in 86 due to injury. Then moved right into the scouting for the Steelers in like 87, 88, 89. And Merrill Hodge was one of the guys that he had back then. So I reached out to Merrill like, hey, man, my dad's Ron Johnson Sr., blah, blah. He's like, oh, man, yeah, I'd love to help. What can I do? And so, of course, I'm like, hey, let's get some draft talk out there. Now, whether it's after the draft, because we already kind of have a loaded week, and let him look even smarter. Like, hey, who's the guy that you knew, or who's the guy that's got drafted that you don't think? I want to get that out there for Merrill to put out there. But, yeah, we got a lot of guys coming up April, May, and guys reaching out like, man, how do I get on the show? So, Ethan Kalikmanis, his marketing team just reached out to me about possibly doing something with us. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
That's pretty cool.
And I'll be at spring, even though spring is closed to the public. I will be there for the spring game for the Gophers. So we'll be able to break that down as well next week too. So
yeah, you can find the Ron Johnson Show at Locked On Sports Minnesota. Find it on YouTube for free. Subscribe there. It's free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Amazon Fire, Roku. Download the app there as well. Thanks a lot, Ron.
I appreciate it.
At 3 Ron Johnson on Twitter. Before we get into Luke Inman's trivia, hold on. Before we get into Luke Inman's trivia, a reminder that Built Bar brings you today's show. You want a delicious snack. You don't want the sugar and calories. You want the best protein bar in the world. You got to try Built. Healthy and amazing taste. 100% real chocolate. Get the bars, get the puffs. They're all phenomenal. Dark chocolate is dark chocolate an option as well. The flavors are to die for. Peanut butter brownie, cookies and cream, churro. I don't know how Built does it, but they managed to pack 17 grams of protein and only 4 grams of sugar into these phenomenal protein bars. Check out your local Walmart or Sam's Club. You can get your specialty flavors as well at Built.com. So head to the pharmacy section of Walmart or Sam's Club today, pick up a 4-bar box, a 13-bar box, and load up on some Built bars or at Built.com. All right, we've got a finite amount of time for Luke Braun. Luke Braun's got a roll, but Luke Inman has some trivia for us that he's been sitting on for a couple weeks now. So, Luke, tell us the rules. What are we doing?
All right, boys. I got some NFL draft trivia I've had locked and loaded for us. It's divided up into 2 categories, some general NFL draft trivia and some Vikings-specific draft trivia. There's about 7, 8, 9 questions in each category. Most of these are worth 1 point. There are a few that you could earn some bonus points as well. I'll just tally the scores over here at home. And I think the best way to do this is buzz in with your name. So first person to say their name gets first crack at it. If you're wrong, whoever buzzes in next gets the next shot at it, so on and so forth. So we'll try to rip through these as fast as we can, just so we can get through as many as we can, tally up the scores at the end. Sam, trivia music? No trivia music. I got a cool I got a buzzer sound effect, though.
Would we rather have this or have a buzzer?
Really vibey. Oh, my gosh.
We have to shoot. Let's do this.
I'm vibing, yeah.
Okay. I feel like I got to get into a different character now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, my gosh.
Okay. Are you guys ready? All right. First one to, again, buzz in with their name. Let's start with a general NFL draft trivia. This one's multiple choice. Let's just kick this one off for people who don't know. In what year was the NFL draft first held? 1949, 1956, 1960, or 1936?
Sam,
go ahead.
1956.
So I can't hit the buzzer, right? Because that'll stop the music?
Yeah.
Make your own buzzer.
Arif.
Arif.
Was that 30s one? 1936? Something like
Correct.
that? That's right.
Arif on the board with 1. All right. Let's try to rip through these.
There's a Gophers running back that was at like the center of some controversy there.
Whoa. Spoiler. Okay. Next one up. This 7th round draftee from 2006 went on to receive Rookie of the Year votes, played 10 years with the same team, and scored 72 receiving touchdowns. This 7th round draftee from the 06 class, Rookie of the Year votes. Go ahead.
Marcus Colston?
That's right. Marcus Colston.
Oh, wow.
I had one clue. Some of these I have a clue for. The clue was Hofstra University. I'm really surprised I didn't have to use that clue. That's outstanding. Arif on the board. Early lead, 2-0. Which college has produced the most draft picks in NFL history?
Sam. Ohio State.
Well, that's good. That's what I was going to say.
Screw it.
Arif.
Bama.
Luke Braun, last one up.
Free guess for Braun.
Throw a dart up there.
Michigan.
That's what I would have said.
Michigan is incorrect. Notre Dame with 522. But check this out, guys. USC is only three behind at 519. So Notre Dame and USC seems to have about the same amount of draftable prospects this year. But next year, I think USC might be able to leapfrog them.
Pull ahead, yeah.
So that'll be interesting. All right, no points awarded there. Which team has picked number 1 overall, a league high 4 times in the past 25 years?
Arif. Jacksonville?
Jacksonville is incorrect.
Sam.
Luke.
Sam.
Go ahead.
Detroit.
Detroit is incorrect.
It's the obvious one, isn't it?
Luke Braun.
Is there an obvious one? Oh, no. Miami Dolphins?
Incorrect. Wow.
He's in Houston.
Is it the Browns?
Cleveland Browns.
Yes.
Tim Couch.
It is the Browns?
Courtney
Oh, I thought they
Brown.
always ended up 4th. All right.
Tim Couch, Courtney Brown, Baker Mayfield, Myles Garrett. That's it. No, name all 4. There you go.
Wow.
All right, no points awarded there. All right. To this point, only the 1984 and 1992 classes are the only 2 groups to not produce a Hall of Famer. However, 1984 did end up producing 3 Hall of Fame players in the supplemental draft with players from the CFL and USFL. 1 point for any player that you can name. One of the 3 players. Arif.
Steve Young.
Steve Young. That's right.
Reggie White. Or Luke.
You gotta buzz in. Come on.
Arif did buzz in.
I said it.
Arif did buzz in.
Jim Kelly.
Jim Kelly is incorrect. Luke Braun, you were next.
Reggie White. That didn't get said, right?
Reggie White. Yep, Reggie White. 1 left.
didn't
All
buzz
right,
in
cool. I'm on the board before I have to go.
Yep. 1 left. Anybody? Sam, want to take a shot? Last guy? Hall of Famer? 1984?
Steve Largent.
Steve Largent, good guess. Incorrect. Gary Zimmerman. All right, Luke's got to go. Let's try to get
that was the other one.
one Vikings one in here.
All
real
right.
quick.
So,
All right, one last
you got
one.
one more? One more. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll do one more.
We'll finish with me and Arif.
From which college have the Vikings selected the most players in the first round? Which college?
In the first round.
Have the Vikings selected the most first round players?
I'm just trying to think of
Luke.
a place that has multiple.
Luke.
You got an off-the-wall guess. University of Minnesota. They did a lot in the 60s.
Good guess, though. Good guess. Incorrect. Arif.
Ohio State. I can't even.
Good guess, but incorrect.
Okay, a freebie for me.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to. I'm trying to come up with just one that even has multiple. This is so hard to think of on the spot.
3, 2,
Marshall.
1. Marshall. Incorrect. USC. USC. 5.
Just guess USC.
Ron Yeri, Steve Riley, Joey Browner, Kenechi Udeze, Matt Khalil. All right, one more. Can you sneak one more in, Luke?
I don't think I can, but I'll see you on Monday.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
We love you.
Okay. Arif's got 3. Luke Braun exits the show with 1 in second place. Sam, right now, still trying to get on the board.
Marshall wasn't the correct answer?
That's crazy.
No, that's crazy.
You would have thought.
All right, let's stick with some Vikings here. Who is the only University of Minnesota player ever drafted by the Vikings in the first round?
It's just a wild guess because you didn't end up on the team. Arif.
Yeah, go ahead.
Bobby Bell?
Incorrect. God, it makes me think that this might not be accurate. I thought for sure you would have got this one. Sam, do you got a guess? Who's the only University of Minnesota player ever drafted by the Vikings in the first round?
I got it.
Bobby Bell was a second rounder.
Got nothing?
For the Chiefs.
1964 with the 6th overall pick, a defensive end from Minnesota named Carl Eller.
Just some guy.
Just some guy. I don't know.
Yeah.
Never heard of her. This first-round pick from Michigan State walked out of training camp on the second day. It was cut from the team 1 week later.
Sam. Demetrius Underwood.
That's right. Sam's on the board, baby.
It's not Ontario Smith. It's not Ontario Smith. Who is it? Who is it?
Right. Okay, another Vikings one here. Who was the Vikings' first pick in the 2008 NFL Draft?
Sam. T-Jack.
Incorrect.
I might as well
It was 2007.
shoot for it, even though I know this is wrong. Arif. Ryan Cook. I think that's 2005.
No, it's Tyrell Johnson, right?
It's Tyrell Johnson.
Oh,
Here was the
dang
clue.
it.
Here was the clue. Drafted 48th overall after trading their first and third picks for Jared Allen.
Yeah, I knew it was a second-round pick too. I was 1 year off.
All right, so Sam, you're 2 behind here. Which current Vikings player was a former walk-on turned All-American and graduated from college as his team's all-time leader in tackles for loss and third for most sacks?
Walk on? Arif. Za'darius Smith?
Good guess. 5,
See,
4, 3, 2, 1.
Sam. Jordan Hicks.
Incorrect. All right, let's hit the reset button. I've got a clue.
He just said his name to extend the timer. That was
that was ridiculous.
Hey, that's the strategy they use in initials game.
Oh, we don't talk about that game on this show.
Yeah.
I'll give you a clue. I'll give you both a clue. He was the Big Ten Defensive Lineman of the Year in 2019 before breaking his leg in the bowl game and deciding to return back to school instead of declaring for the draft. He also won the Bulworth Trophy for the nation's most outstanding player who began as a college walk-on. Arif?
Was it Kenny Willekes?
It is Kenny Willekes.
Oh my gosh.
That's
Okay.
right. Okay.
Now, does he get that point?
Yeah, because I hit the reset button.
Oh, you hit the reset. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I get the point. Great. Fantastic.
Don't worry, Sam. You can catch up here on this next one.
I think this next one's worth 2 points. Probably.
This next one's worth 2 because there's 2 answers. So
all right.
You get a point for each. In 2003, the Vikings botched a trade with the Ravens and subsequently missed their pick. 2 selections were made before they finally drafted Kevin Williams. Which 2 players were drafted before him? 1 point for each.
Crap. Arif.
Yeah.
Oh, this is wrong, actually. I was going to say Tony Baselli. That's no way.
Tony Baselli.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to laugh. I mean, obviously, it's
Yes, you
easy
do.
for me. I have the answers, but
You mean to laugh.
that's wrong, unfortunately. Sam?
But that is incorrect.
Sam, I'll give you a clue. One was drafted by the Panthers. One was drafted by the Jags.
Uh-huh.
That's why
Boy.
Okay,
I
one was a
feel like they-
quarterback. One was a
Corner?
quarterback.
You say quarter or corner?
Quarter.
Oh.
Arif. David Garrard?
Incorrect. Wow. Any last guess here, Sam? 3.
Del Holm.
Oh, wait.
Incorrect. Arif, you already had 2 tries. Byron
Kind of.
Leftwich
Byron
and
Leftwich?
Jordan Gross.
Yeah, Byron Leftwich. God.
Byron Leftwich and Jordan Gross. Here's what's funny. 1 year prior, the Vikings were involved in another awkward situation when the Cowboys and Chiefs swapped the 6th and 8th pick. The Chiefs appeared to not get their card in on time, and the Vikings tried to select a player in which they were later denied by league officials. Which player did they try to attempt to draft, and which player did they ultimately end up with? 1 point for either one.
I don't remember this at all.
Really? Mike Tice era.
Isn't it always?
2002.
Is
Top
so the
10
one they
picks.
ended up with is it Sam? Is it Michael Bennett?
Incorrect. Michael Bennett was 2001. You're 1 year early. Is the next draft.
Story
Good
of
guess.
this game for me. Story of the game.
Arif?
The Chiefs were late to pick. I know that this is incorrect because I believe he appeared 2 drafts later, but I'm going to say Jared Allen for the Chiefs.
Incorrect. Good
Is
guess,
the
though.
is the player they were trying to draft Ron Johnson?
That's right.
First round pick, Ron Johnson.
That's right. No, Bryant McKinney was the pick. They tried to draft Ryan Sims, the defensive tackle from North Carolina. Are these too tough? These seem a little tricky.
This is perfect. No, this
okay. All right. I'll give you
should be getting some of these.
Let's ditch the Vikings. Let's go back to general NFL. Which of the following schools has not had a number 1 overall pick since 2000? Utah, Penn State, Alabama, or Michigan?
Arif. Penn State.
Incorrect.
Could you re-ask the question, please?
Which of the following schools has not had a number 1 overall pick since 2000? Alabama, Penn State, Michigan, or Utah?
Well, then, okay.
So, I mean, the odd one out here is obviously Utah, but is there someone
5,
super obvious?
4, 3.
Utah.
Alex Smith was drafted number 1 overall from
Alabama.
Utah.
Great.
Courtney Brown was drafted number 1 overall from Penn State in 2000. Jake Long was drafted number 1 overall from Michigan. Alabama has not had a number 1 overall pick since 2000.
Weird.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah, that is weird.
Here's a funny one. NFC North. From 2002 to 2007, the Detroit Lions had 6 consecutive top 10 picks. 1 point for each pick you can name correctly.
Sorry, 2002 to 2007?
Correct. 6 top 10 picks in a row.
Sam, Charles Rogers.
That's 1 point right there. Look at this. You could catch back up on this one, folks.
Sam. Mike Williams,
2005. That's 2. 10th overall from USC.
Oh, we can buzz in. Arif.
Sam got it.
Joey Harrington,
quarterback,
Arif,
3rd overall.
Johnson.
Arif. Calvin Johnson. That's correct. 2007. Arif.
Roy Williams?
Roy Williams, 2004. 1 left. 2006, he was drafted 9th overall from Florida State University.
So what year? 2006, Florida State.
Unlike the other 5 previous picks, he is not a skill position player.
Oh, well, it's going to be impossible now.
Right.
I don't know. Arif. Vanden Bosch.
Incorrect. Sam, any guess? Lions top 10 pick, 9th overall in 2006.
I got nothing.
Ernie Sims, Florida State linebacker.
Yeah.
All right, Sam, you're only down by 2.
Let's just keep playing till I'm ahead and then stop.
Which of the following teams has never picked number 1 overall in the NFL draft? The Baltimore Ravens, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Denver Broncos, or the New Orleans Saints?
Arif. Pittsburgh Steelers?
Incorrect.
What?
Terry Bradshaw, 1970, Louisiana
Oh my
Tech.
gosh.
Yeah. I forgot most of the other options. I'm going to say Saints.
George Rogers was drafted number 1 overall in 1981, running back from South Carolina. I thought you knew that. Don't you have his poster?
How could I forget
hanging above your bed?
George?
Baltimore Ravens,
yes,
back when they were the
because
Baltimore...
they assumed the Cleveland Browns draft position when they moved then, huh?
The Baltimore Ravens, when they were formerly known as the Baltimore Colts in 1967, drafted Bubba Smith, DN from Michigan State. The Denver Broncos have never had the number 1 overall pick.
So the Broncos must have entered the league at the same time as a couple of other teams.
I think you're right. No, okay. I think you're right on that. Yeah, you're right. All right. Arif has 6 points. Sam has 4. You're down by 2. 3 questions left. At the start of the 2022 regular season, Alabama held the record for most players on NFL rosters with 58. Which 2 teams were tied for second? 1 point for either.
Arif.
Sam.
Arif got it in.
LSU and FSU.
LSU is correct. FSU is incorrect. 1 left there, Sam.
I mean, isn't the lesson that we've learned here that we should guess USC?
just the shaking head. He's so disappointed in us.
Incorrect.
Is it Ohio State?
It's Ohio State.
See, that's what I would have said if I hadn't had
Okay. All right. So it goes Alabama, then LSU and Ohio State with 52 players active in the league. Who's the fourth team with the most players?
We haven't named it yet?
Correct. You haven't named it yet. Who's dominated these drafts the last couple of years? Which college, first, second rounders?
Look, man, I'm vibing.
It's not Michigan.
Who's dominated the drafts the last few years?
Which college? Yeah, it's Georgia.
Oh my God.
Georgia.
Yeah.
Come on,
Shoot
guys.
me in the head.
Georgia. Jeepers.
Yeah. Goodness.
All right. You're down 3. Since 2011, which school has produced the most first, second, and third round running backs collectively? Which school? Which program? Sam.
You don't even know. You just buzzed in.
Bama is correct. Look at this. He knew the whole time. He just wanted to make it dramatic. Alabama has had 10 running backs in the first, second, or third round since 2011. Brian Robinson.
A point for each?
I'll let you know, though. Najee Harris, Josh Jacobs, Damian Harris, Derrick Henry, Kenyon Drake, T.J. Yeldon, Eddie Lacy, Trent Richardson, and Mark Ingram.
And Kenyon Drake was such a weird pick.
Okay, here's one for Sam. Per ESPN stats and information and weighted metrics, such as which round a player was drafted in, as well as getting points for having all-conference and all-American selections, since 1998, the start of the BCS era in college football, which school has produced the most successful wide receivers? Arif.
Ohio State. I really wanted to go.
Incorrect. Ohio State ranked 5th on ESPN's. Yeah, 5th.
Can I buzz in again, or do I have to wait for Sam?
Sam's got a crack at it. Sam, I said specifically this one is for you for a reason.
Where are they from?
USC?
USC. Drake London, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Michael Pittman Jr., Jordan Sinata, just to name a few. LSU was 2nd, Alabama 3rd, Oklahoma 4th. All right. Same question, same style, just different position. Since 98, which school has produced the most successful tight ends?
Arif.
Arif.
I have to go Notre Dame. It just feels right.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Incorrect.
Okay.
Incorrect. Great guess, though. That would be the default for anybody.
Yeah.
Sam, you need this one.
I do. Still 3 questions left, right? I mean, we've had three questions.
Three questions left for quite a while.
Yep. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You're only down 2 points if you can get this one.
Penn State?
Incorrect.
Oh, that's a great guess.
Miami. 13 tight ends drafted since 2000, including first rounders Bubba Franks, Jeremy Shockey, Kellen Winslow, Greg Olson, and David Njoku.
Yeah, third leg Greg, of course.
I can take the L. I feel like I'm just climbing uphill here.
All right, last one. Vikings
one.
trivia. Worth 2 points if you can tie this one. We'll continue next week. Last episode before the draft next week. Which lone wide receiver, there was only one, was drafted before Randy Moss in 1998? I'll give you a clue. He's known for being 1 yard short.
Arif. Is it Kevin Dyson?
Kevin Jerome Dyson for the win. Arif Hassan takes it home. 8 points to 5 in a landslide. Don't forget about Luke Braun and his 1 point as well. He'll get some nice parting gifts. Congratulations, everybody. That was your NFL draft trivia for the 2023 NFL draft.
Well, the music was good. The questions were good. The hosting was good by Luke. Performance by yours truly, not so.
What did you think?
So
Were those? It's hard to write trivia because you don't know which ones are just going to be obscure and which ones are maybe too simple.
No, I thought the questions were good. I think the fact that we were pretty low on our ability to answer them, that's an us problem. We should have been able to answer more of these questions.
Okay,
that's on us.
You just didn't have your A game. If Luke was here, maybe just a third person was here, a third mind to think about those. Maybe you would have
like the Vikings specific stuff. I think Luke might have been able to kind of pull us up. Yeah.
Yep, for sure. Well, that was fun though, guys. Thanks for letting me do that. Congrats, Arif. Arif wins another, trivia tournament game.
Brand new car.
Like I'm winning them all the time, man. I lose a lot.
My dog's furious at me. Captain's been hijacking the video on this show.
Get us out of here. Wrap us up, Sam.
Minnesota Football Party returns draft week Monday with Arif and Braun. Thanks so much for watching, everyone, today. Subscribe on YouTube, Locked On Sports Minnesota. Thanks to Ron. Thanks to Luke, Arif, and the other Luke. I'm Sam Ekstrom. Talk to you next time on Locked On Sports Minnesota.